Of 18 events run, this year's Camel Supercross Series has already been called the best, the most exciting in the history of the sport. 3 different riders have won races. The championship point standings have been shaken at each event. And round 5 in Atlanta Stadium may be the best yet. Next on ESPN, the excitement of Supercross.
They were predicted, and for once, the weatherman was right. Those that believed brought blankets. They wore heavy coats and long johns. Those that didn't, well, I have to believe they paid the price. Hello, everyone. I'm Larry Myers for ESPN. With me, Dave Despain. We're here in Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium to bring you all the excitement of Supercross. Coors Extra Gold Super Challenge, round 5 of the Camel Series. 1 week ago, Dave, we were in Seattle, Washington. The skies opened up. 6 inches of snow covered the ground. The forecast was, stay home, you'll never make it anywhere. But a huge crowd turned out in the Kingdome, and we have it here again this evening.
Well, here in Atlanta, Larry, it's a tradition. We first came here in '74. It was freezing cold, pouring rain. They've never had good weather for this race, and still the people pour in year after year. We could show you mud bogs, downpours, deep freezes, blizzards. We chose 1983, one of our favorite nights at Atlanta Stadium. This place is often a mess, and still the fans pour in for the excitement of Supercross racing.
Well, it's extremely exciting, Dave. I have to think that's the reason why, and we'll get to that excitement right after this recap of last week's race in Seattle.
The Kingdome was not at all kind to Mike Morocco, who got tangled up right off the bat, and even less kind to Kerry Mulligan, a guy you probably haven't heard of, and Damon Bradshaw, a man you most certainly have. The 2-time winner of this series on the ground before we were a lap into this race. The big story up front was the spectacular battle between Ricky Johnson and the charging number 20, Jeff Matasevich. You'll not see a lot more of Johnson because Matasevich took over and was running away until Larry Ward showed up on the scene. Here is the hometown favorite. He lives just a few miles from the Dome, and when he took the lead, the fans went crazy. Matasevich retaliated, and then the battle heated up. Side by side, handlebar to handlebar, and looking each other over. Ward on the right, and Matasevich on the left went into the most controversial moment of the race. Larry goes high, Matasevich stops, they bump, they continue. For the moment, it was Matasevich with the lead. And keep in mind that this was a replay of a similar conflict in their heat race. A little bad blood between the 2 youngsters. Ward ducked to the inside and retook a lead that he would never surrender. And it was indeed a popular victory among the hometown fans as some 35 to 40,000 people rose to their feet and cheered Larry Ward to victory. The victory party was one of the best we've seen on the Supercross Series all year. And as Matasevich came over and congratulated the winner, we wondered if there was any bad blood left going to Atlanta.
In our qualifier, there was a big bold turn where it was really easy to block past, and I'd go the outside, he'd go the inside, and he'd come up and push me all the way to the hay bales and brake check me up there, and it seemed to me like he was trying to knock me down.
Some little stuff happened at Seattle between me and Matasevich, but I just go out there to win the race. I don't go out there thinking about Matasevich. I think about getting a good start and riding consistent and riding out, hopefully way out in front. When I come to somebody like Jeff, somebody I have to pass is just another obstacle on the track. He's no different than anyone else.
And with those words, we'll take a break and be right back. Welcome back to the Coors Extra Gold Super Challenge, round 5 of the Camel Supercross Series. I'm Larry Myers, with me Dave Despain. We're in Atlanta, Georgia. Now behind us, a man-made track. They've molded this on the floor of the Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, and it looks to me like a system of freeways that we have here in Atlanta. They call it Spaghetti Junction. Maybe you can make some sense out of it.
Oh, Larry, nothing to it. It runs counterclockwise. Start at the starting gate, go as fast as you can. As you can see, it's got a wide open first turn. The second half of the course is very, very tight, very, very difficult, and that's where most of the passing will be.
Well, technically, that's a very, very challenging track. It's going to be tough on the riders, but a lot of room for passing. That's what we've seen so far, and that makes, of course, for very exciting racing. We'll get to that racing very shortly. The qualifiers will run earlier today. We still have the main yet to come, but before we get to that action, Dave, let's take a look at the route the riders take to get into that main event.
Well, Larry, 60 riders come to this race hoping to qualify for a 20-man main. They go into 3 heat races. The top 5 finishers from each move up. Non-qualifiers go into a pair of semis. We take the first and second place finishers out of the semis to the main. If you still haven't qualified, it's into the last chance qualifier. The winner only becomes the 20th starter in the main event. By the time you get to the feature, you feel like you've already done a night's work, and there's still 20 tough laps to go.
Now let's take a look at the heat race action leading up to that main event. Heat race number 1, it was Kurt McMillan, number 28, aboard the Honda with the early lead. But Rick Johnson, the magic man of motocross, 2 times a Supercross champ, rider number 13, snuck by on the inside and was followed by teammate Jeff Stanton. Going into the Atlanta event 1 year ago, Rick Johnson was the easy series leader, having won 5 in a row. Jeff Stanton snapped that win streak right here in Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium and ultimately went on to win the 1989 Camel Supercross title. Rick Johnson went on to a broken wrist the following weekend. He has paid the price all year. He has been recovering on a gradual basis, but is not yet up to snuff. It looks, though, in this Atlanta Supercross like Johnson could very well be back, taking heat race number 1.
Good run for Johnson, an important run for Johnson. He needs momentum. He needs to convince himself and everybody else that he can get back on top. Beating Stanton is the way to do that. LaRocco, Dubach, and Hawthorne round out the top 5.
Heat race number 2 started as a Suzuki-Honda duel. Out front, number 17, Larry Ward, the winner at Seattle. We saw him in the recap just 1 moment ago. Right behind, closing fast, looking to make the pass, Jean-Michel Bayle, the French world champion, Team Honda. Now, Bayle had the set pass up, but look what happened.
Well, that proves you can't defy the law of gravity. In replay, you'll see that Ward tried to cut back under Bayle too soon, caught the front wheel, went right on his ear.
When he did that, that left the door open for Mike Kiedrowski, rider number 11, teammate of Jean-Michel Bayle, and Kiedrowski was no more polite to Bayle than Bayle was to Larry Ward. According to reports early in the season, racing in Paris, this same pair of riders, this pair of teammates, Mike Kiedrowski, number 11, and Jean-Michel Bayle, number 22, while competing in a Supercross event in Paris, France, banged into each other a couple of times, Dave, and according to the reports, there was some retaliation, and it would appear from this heat race action that retaliation is still going on here in the States.
Well, they're hard at it for sure. Winning the heat is very important. You want to get the best possible starting position on the gate. Bobble there by Michel may have cost him the opportunity to make a run at Kiedrowski here at the checkered flag. Just because they wear the same uniform doesn't mean they're best pals off the racetrack.
Especially this early in the season. Later in the year, they will tell you that they might try to protect a lead for a fellow teammate. However, early in the season, it's anyone's championship to win. So while they're on that track, they're looking for all the points they can get. The points ultimately lead to that number 1 place, and of course the dollars that come along with it. Mike Kiedrowski, heat race number 2, led about the last half, heads for the checkered flag with Jean-Michel Bayle and a passel of lap riders right at his tail.
While the 2 Honda teammates ran 1-2, Larry Ward picked himself up, dusted himself off, came back to finish 3rd, ahead of Keith Bowen and Guy Cooper on a couple of more Suzukis, rounding out the top 5.
Heat race number 3 turned out to be another battle between teammates. This time they were aboard the green Kawasaki. Rider number 3, Jeff Ward. San Juan Capistrano was the leader. Right behind him, number 20, Jeff Matasevich. He's been so far this season the most consistent rider, and in fact is the point series leader heading into Atlanta. Behind that duo, the Yamaha of Damon Bradshaw, rider number 8. There's Bradshaw just flashing into the screen. Jeff Ward continued to hold off the charge from Matasevich, and the pair of riders more or less ran away from Damon Bradshaw. In the process, Jeff Matasevich put the moves on Jeff Ward. He went to the inside, squirted to the outside before Ward knew what happened. Matasevich was by. But Ward is not a 2-time Supercross champion for nothing. He came right back and pounded on the rear wheel of Jeff Matasevich. There were still 3 laps remaining, and Ward had every intention of making the most of them. So Ward followed Matasevich and studied his lines. When he was ready, he made the move. It's coming up here very shortly. You'll see Ward going to the inside through a rough section of whoop-de-doo. Matasevich let himself get just a little bit wide. That was all the room that Ward needed. Ward makes the pass, but look at this. Matasevich comes right back, and he says, thank you very much. Promptly pushes Ward off to the side in that set of whoop-de-doos. A rather dangerous, I would have to think, stunt for a heat race and involving a pair of teammates. But Matasevich is one of the young, aggressive riders, and he puts winning ahead of everything else. And that apparently includes battling and jousting with your teammate and occasionally rubbing elbows, fenders, gas tanks, wheels. Checkered flag. Jeff Matasevich with one hand up in the air says, this one was all mine.
Matasevich over Ward in the battle of teammates. A lot of Kawasaki's in this one. Bradshaw's third-place finish breaks up a sweep. O'Mara and Fisher round out the top 5. And we'll be coming back with the semifinals from Atlanta right after this.
Welcome back. I'm Larry Myers. With me, Dave Despain. That young man, rider number 6 aboard the Suzuki, is Ronnie Tishner. He's leading this pair of riders in semifinal number 1. Now, all of these riders have had one opportunity to qualify this evening. They were in one of 3 heat races, did not make it into the main. They do come back for a second chance in the semis. If they don't make it here, they'll have another crack, as we showed you earlier, at that main event by going through the last chance qualifier. Right now, though, the battle has heated up for this number 2 position, and Dave, only one of those 2 riders is going to make it into the main.
Exactly, Larry. That's the key to this competition. This is a 2-man ride for 1 transfer position. Big move up the inside by Dowd. Boom, banging around. These guys making contact. Andrews stays in shape for this kind of business by riding cross-country races all winter. Dowd's in good shape because he's a Florida rider, races in the sand. And they're willing to hang it out a bunch here because if you don't make it out of this race, you're bound for the last chance. There's the leader, Tishner. He's smooth as silk and gone. This thing could go right down to the wire.
And one of those 2 are going to have a direct wire right into the main event as a result of this battle. Oh, and it looks like it's going to be Andrews. John Dowd tried a little bit too hard. He went over the handlebars. He's going to be out of it. Ronnie Tishner, meanwhile, coasting up front, takes the checkered flag with a little bit of a cross-up, and he's the winner of semi number 1.
Andrews gets the other transfer spot easily on the last lap with the crash. McMillan, Hand, and Boyson round out the top 5 as we move on to the second semifinal.
And in that event, number 71 from Brooksville, Florida, is Brian McElroy. Now, another battle shaping up in the number 2 position. And once again, only one of those 2 riders that are battling for that second spot will make it into the main. Third place, you go to the last chance qualifier. In the number 2 position, number 915 for the Suzuki is Cliff Palmer. Behind Palmer, number 890, momentarily out of sight aboard a Kawasaki, is a West German motocross champion, Roland Diepold. Now, Diepold is doing the same thing in America that 1 year ago Jean-Michel Bale did. He's coming to the United States to gain some experience. He hopes to take that experience and momentum back to his country and be an improved motocrosser. Meanwhile, Palmer was doing what he had to do up front. He took the number 1 position away from number 71, Brian McElroy, and that left the door open for Diepold to strut his stuff. Now, Supercross is relatively new to Diepold. There is very little of it in Europe, and Diepold has cut his teeth racing Grand Prix events. But when Jean-Michel Bale went back to Europe a year ago to compete in the 250cc World Championships, he had gained so much skill, the other Europeans stood up and took notice and said, hey, that might be a good idea, and Diepold is going to give it a shot. He should be over here for 2 or 3 more races. We'll look forward to seeing more of this very, very likable young German rider. Meanwhile, out front, it was Cliff Palmer, and now Diepold making a move for that number 2 position. He did understand, even though there is a language barrier, that you have to finish first or second to make it into the main event from the semi. So Diepold takes over the number 2 position, and he's not going to give it up without a fight. McElroy, though, ready to put on the glove. Look at this. He goes from one side of the tracks to the other. You're supposed to ride those whoops kind of head-on. He took him crossways. Good way to hurt yourself and the guy next to you, just like that. Brian McElroy tries just a little too hard, as happened in semi number 1. If he's going to make it into the main, he'll have to do it through that last chance qualifier. He's out of this one. Meanwhile, up front, there's Cliff Palmer, number 915, headed for the checkered flag with a West German rider, Roland Diepold, in tow. A couple of jumps, a little corner or 2, and there they are, the checkered flag. Cliff Palmer wins it, rider number 915 aboard the Suzuki.
Good to see Diepold coming over and following in the footsteps of Bale and taking that second spot. He'll make his first main event. Roth, Knox, and Treadwell are going to the last chance qualifier.
And that one turned out to be another battle royal between Kurt McMillan, rider number 28 on the Honda, and there's our friend number 71 from semifinal number 2, Brian McElroy. Looks like he went to school back there. He was fast a couple of times, learned a lesson well. Now what he has to do is keep it up on 2 wheels.
He took McMillan all the way up on the rail, but he didn't touch him, so I guess it was clean. Made the pass without contact, and anytime you can do that, it's got to be considered a clean pass. Seems to have demoralized McMillan, who falls off the pace temporarily. McElroy knows he's got to win this one or he goes home on the Greyhound.
McMillan had some peculiar lines back there. It looked like he was trying to bounce off the hay bales, but considering it's the last lap, I guess it's okay. You have to ride wherever you possibly can, and that's just what McMillan was doing. Meanwhile, McElroy, his job is clear. Hold down that #1 spot, block if necessary, take up all of the track that you possibly can. Make no mistake, it requires a tremendous amount of concentration to be a good Supercross rider, and we're seeing now where that concentration pays off. McMillan, meanwhile, has to take every chance that he possibly can, and there he tried to get a drive through that corner on the inside. He bobbled, and that could very well cost him the race. With just a few corners remaining, the checkered flag goes out, in fact, to Brian McElroy. This one is history.
McMillan made a real run at him on the last lap, got her sideways. That cost his momentum and drive, and a result, it's McElroy going on to the feature, and the rest of these guys are done for tonight here in Atlanta.
And with that, the field is set for the Coors Extra Gold Super Challenge main event.
20 riders are in, Larry, and for them, I think this is probably the hardest part of the whole evening. Now you wait for your chance to go out and race. It gives you a lot of time to think about all the things that can go wrong out there.
And while we still have some time, let's take a look at amateur Supercross racing. And would you believe, Dave, they're now comparing that to organized baseball?
You've got a little league system, then you've got the minor leagues, and then you've got the majors. We feel like that the amateur Supercross is the grassroots level, such as your little leagues. Then you go into the 125s and to the 250. You know, for a pro program, we feel like it's viable to keep the system growing and keep new riders entering the professional ranks.
Just like Little League Baseball, the kids do the work while Dad coaches from the sidelines. And when the day and the yelling are all done, one of the emphasis is on family camaraderie.
We come out here and we have a good time. We get to have fellowship with the people around us. You get to see people all over the country. It's just great. It's a great feeling just to be out here, just around it and associate with everybody with motocross.
At any amateur Supercross event, you'll find a wide cross-section of America. Some sport the latest in motocross fashions. Others make do with the first thing they can grab. Some wouldn't think of traveling in anything less than a land yacht. Others get there by hook or by hertz. But they all show up for the amateur Supercross.
Well, it's another race weekend, just like just about every weekend, but it's a special weekend when you get a chance to ride a Supercross. The boys don't get that much Supercross riding type of activity with that type of a track for the technical aspects, which I think all of them really enjoy, judging from the turnout here today.
All over the country, they're turning out for amateur Supercross. The goal is to ride the Amateur National Championship in June at Oklahoma State Fairgrounds.
You have to have ridden a Supercross finals in the amateur at ranks at any of the Supercrosses in 1990 leading up to the June 6th date.
And we'll be right back. Keep it tuned to ESPN. Welcome back. I'm Larry Myers. With me, Dave Despain. We're in Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium for round 5 of the Camel Supercross Series. Now, the 125cc main event is on the line and ready to roll. Let's take a look at the leaders in that class. Barry Carson out front with 16 points, followed by Jones, Boland, Goodman, Jeremy Buell rounding out the top 5. That's after one race, as this one is about to get underway. Starter has turned the board sideways. The eyes of the riders are on the gate, concentrating. It goes down, and away they go. One rider on the end, leaping over the top of the bale. Out of the middle of the pack, it looks like Jeff Glass, and indeed it is. Aboard that bright red Honda, he's number 63. Right behind him, number 51, was Mike Jones out of Pennsylvania. That pair of riders find themselves with all kinds of company as the field starts to sort themselves out. The 125cc class in Supercross is the training grounds for the big guys. The bikes are just 1/2 the size of the 250s that will be running in the main event with Rick Johnson, Jeff Ward, and the likes of the best Supercross riders in the world aboard them. This is their opportunity, though, to learn in this 125 class. The bikes are equal. The riders pretty much have the same ability. If you can cut it here, chances are pretty good you'll be able to make it as a 250 rider. If you can't cut it here, chances are very good that you will not make it as a 250 rider.
Man on the move is Denny Stevenson, number 27. He is really going after the leader. Mike Jones out front on the Honda, but he's got the Suzuki teammates in tow. Jeremy Buell, number 58. Stevenson hot on his rear wheel, and those three are trying to break away from the rest of the field. There's Buell, and he's getting tight. Stevenson takes a different outside line. You'd never want to follow the guy ahead of you. You always want to make something happen out there.
Mike Jones is a tough customer. Comes out of Pennsylvania. He's married, one of the few riders on the circuit that is married, and indeed in this 125 class, it is a real rarity. The riders are generally a little bit on the younger side. Jones, though, has been around a while, and here comes Buell up to challenge number 27. Buell is number 58. They're Suzuki teammates. Number 27, Denny Stevenson. Stevenson manages to grab the inside corner back there and comes over the whoops in fine shape, holds on to the number 2 position. Mike Jones, meanwhile, doing everything he can to stretch it out, but they're not letting him get away at this point.
I don't think Buell can race his teammate Stevenson at this point. I think the race is between Stevenson and the leader Jones, because the way Denny went around Jeremy, he's got the momentum, he's got the line. It seems that Buell is struggling a little bit. I wouldn't write him off, but for the moment it looks like the pressure is on Jones, not on Stevenson.
I would have to agree with that. You know, Mike Jones is the exception to that rule we were talking about, where the younger riders are in the 125 class for beginners. Jones has been around for quite a while. He's not going to be long, though, for first place. He's pushed aside by Denny Stevenson, and we have a new leader.
Stevenson's a good kid. He's a great rider. He's very smooth, very fast. Jones very determined as he comes back up the inside.
Whoa.
Stevenson way out of shape, but he's so quick. He reacts so well that he's able to get the motorcycle gathered back up and actually gain ground on Jones despite having been the rider who made the mistake. He's a nice kid. He's a fun kid to talk to in victory lane.
Well, he's riding the kind of race right now that he needs to ride if he wants to take home that checkered flag. Earlier, we asked Denny Stevenson, what would it take to indeed do that, to get the win here in Atlanta Stadium?
I don't know. I haven't gotten one for a while, but hopefully if I get a good start, I can just pick up the pace and pull away from everybody. And if not, you know, I'm just going to have to use my head and move to the front and hopefully win this thing.
I wonder if he misses that bright red stocking cap that he had on a short while ago, because it is getting colder and colder here in Atlanta Stadium. And he's doing the right things to win it. He's out in front riding calm and cool, picking his lines. And he's not very more than a few inches each time around this track from the line that he selected. He's using up all the good ones. Mike Jones, meanwhile, in the back is looking a little bit on the ragged side as he's going into unexplored or virgin territory in efforts to pass. He's trying out new ways to get around this track. And look out, because here comes Jeremy Buell right behind Jones.
I thought when Stevenson went by that Buell had lost his concentration and they just pull away from him, but he's staying close. Stevenson, on the other hand, is opening up the gap. It is now a battle for second place as Buell comes back and puts the pressure on Jones. He pulls up, he's alongside, he shows him the wheel, now cuts back to the inside, and here comes Jeremy Buell, knifing underneath, making the pass.
That was a fine pass. There wasn't much room, but he took it. Stevenson leads. We'll be right back after this. Stadium, and open warfare that is raging here in the 125cc class. This is a battle for the number 2 position. Number 58 is Jeremy Buell, an Ohio rider. Right behind him, number 51 out of Pennsylvania, is Mike Jones. Now here's our leader, Denny Stevenson, number 27. He's from Nebraska, but the battle has been all for the second and third place. Now early in the race, Mike Jones, number 51, was the leader. He had the whole shot, in fact, and looked like he might be able to do some damage up front. When Denny Stevenson went by, then all of a sudden Jeremy Buell caught fire, and he took over the number 2 position and shoving Jones back to third. That's the way it stands as they head for the checkered flag. There's our leader from Omaha, Nebraska, and with a fist in the air, he takes the checkered flag.
Great ride for Stevenson and for Buell. Perhaps Suzuki's long Supercross drought is finally over for good. Cliff Palmer with a nice ride through the semifinal. And how about it, Denny Stevenson?
I'm really happy right now. I've switched to the new bikes, Suzuki's, and they're probably the best bikes I've ever ridden. I got a pretty good start, passing the lead, and just tried to stay, smooth, and it worked out. I'm really, really, really happy.
Take a look at how this affects the point standings. Jones, with his third-place finish, will hang on to the point lead over Buell, but Stevenson's first victory moves him up into third spot as that series moves on to the next round.
You know, as we watch that 125cc main event and then the riders up on the victory rostrum, it's hard to believe that we're looking at temperatures in the low 20s.
They've been working hard out there, Larry, and the fans are getting a workout, too. Earlier today, we sent a camera out as the folks were coming into the stadium to find out why they would brave these kind of temperatures to go to a race.
The excitement's worth it. If they can do it, we can sit out here and do it. It's just great. The excitement is going.
This is nothing. This is a nice night.
Well, man, I figure if the Supercrossers themselves can do it, I guess I can too, man. I have to sit out here in the cold. It'd have to get a lot colder than this for me to stay away. It's worth it. get out here and watch these guys that I read in magazines, see on TV every once in a while.
Man, the excitement's worth it, man. I want to watch the bikes kick dirt, man, get up, man. It's pretty bad, man. It's a once-a-year event. It's worth it, man.
Hey, wow, yeah, man. And I wonder how all those gnarly dudes down in the pits, you know, the riders and the mechanics feel about all this cold.
It's going to be a little cold. Just warm up before the race, break a little sweat before you go on the line, so you're not going there cold or stiff, you know. Just really relax, loose, and I think I'll do fine.
Well, really, it's great for the engines. The engines like cold weather, so probably be looking at, you know, real good response and horsepower from all these engines. On the other hand, the suspension probably doesn't like to be this cold, especially at the beginning of the race. You know, the oil's a little bit thicker and seals are not warm, and you know, there could be some failures or things could just be a little bit harsh in the beginning of the race, but once it gets underway, it'll warm up and smooth right out.
Biggest effect that the weather, the colder temperatures have is on the jetting. Usually on days like today, we richen the bikes up a little bit, warming the bikes up, making sure that they're good and warmed up before the guy goes out on them is real important. Also on the suspension, you got to make sure that the guys take a couple laps to warm up, or just moving the front forks and the rear shock, getting the oil moving through the orifices, and also getting the seals a little bit warmed up.
Coming up, the Coors Extra Gold Super Challenge. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Supercross Series, we're in Atlanta, Georgia, Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium. You're looking at Jeff Stanton, the defending Supercross champion. Stanton is trying to drive everything from his mind except the matter at hand. 1 year ago, this very stadium, Stanton won his first ever Supercross event.
A year ago tonight, number 1 belonged to Ricky Johnson, and he was on an incredible roll with 5 straight victories coming into this event. As the gate dropped and they had at it in Atlanta, Stanton immediately moved up to join the fray as the leader in the race was Guy Cooper. All 3 are teammates, Cooper, Stanton, and Johnson, not seen here because he was way back in the back. On this night, Stanton saw the opportunity to emerge as a star in his own right, but he about threw that opportunity away right here with this excursion off the racetrack. Cooper, for the moment, was gone. Johnson said, "I'll take this opportunity to move up and challenge my old friend." Now, they'd been betting on who was going to sleep in the doghouse, who was going to have to work at McDonald's, depending on who won and lost the races between them. But for the moment, in the midpoint in the race, Johnson was again the class of the field. He whipped by Cooper like Cooper was stopped. RJ apparently headed for his 6th win of the year, a perfect season for the man from California. Cooper and Stanton, his teammates, were left to battle over the 2nd spot. Watch Cooper, right-hand side of the screen, clips the top of the jump into the air, manages to land on his feet, jumps back up, says, "Where's my motorcycle?" In the process, Stanton slithered underneath Johnson to take the lead. They went handlebar to handle. Bailed off. The win streak is over. He will settle for the runner-up position as Jeff Stanton wins the first Supercross race of his career.
That particular night was one of the more memorable in my race-watching career, Dave. It was just an excellent race. Let's look forward to another one here tonight and hope we get it in the cold, clear temperatures of Atlanta. Card is sideways, the gate is about to drop, and round 5 of the Camel Supercross Series will be underway, and there they go. Guy Cooper almost hit a bale on the right-hand side. That shoved him right into the middle of the pack. Cooper is going to have to work awfully hard if he wants to be a factor in this one. The first couple of laps in any competition are critical. Supercross even more so. It's a tight track. The corners are very tight. The straightaways are narrow. A lot of jumps. There are motorcycles and bodies flying all over the place. And until they sort themselves out, it's an extremely critical time on a racetrack. Johnny O'Mara right now, number 9 is the leader. The O-Show, former Supercross champion, is showing the rest of the field the short way around this pack. Now O'Mara has switched to Kawasaki for this year, and it was expected it would take him a long time to become familiar with the bikes, but it looks like he's got them handled right now. Behind him, Damon Bradshaw, number 8 aboard the Yamaha. There's Rick Johnson, number 13 on the left side of your screen. Cooper has passed an amazing number of riders. He's number 4 aboard that Suzuki. Cooper is not waiting around for the rest of the pack. He is really working his way through traffic. Up front, though, Dave, the battle is between number 9, Johnny O'Mara, and the young Damon Bradshaw.
The veteran and the kid, O'Mara O'Mara's been at this about 9 years. Bradshaw, brand new this year, won the first 2 races in the series. Remember, he's riding with a sore ankle by virtue of a couple of hard crashes. Here he is challenging for the lead. Oh, and Bradshaw cased it hard on top of the jump. Lost the opportunity to take the lead. Settles back into second, looking over his shoulder. He sees his old nemesis, Jeff Matasevich, the other rookie who was the point leader coming into this race. Good battle.
Good battle indeed. We've got them all over the track. There goes Bradshaw to the inside. He takes over the number 1 position. Right behind him, Stanton moves into third. He cleaned Matasevich's clock. And look, here comes Rick Johnson. We have got all kinds of action on this racetrack, and it's only the first couple of laps.
That's critical, though, Larry, because everybody wants to stay inside that top 3 or 4 spots. If you get further back than that, even though it's a long way to the finish, it's going to be very difficult to make the passes you have to get all the way to the front. So that big scramble back there is to stay inside of Damon Bradshaw, stay in that top 3 or 4. Stanton is at the tail end of that, and now here comes Ricky Johnson up, and he's challenging Stanton.
They call it momentum. You can call it adrenaline, anything you want. Right now, there's about 7, 8 guys out there that have got it, Dave. I've never seen a race like this early in the ball game. They're not waiting at all. Normally, they would let themselves get sorted out just a little bit, but every one of the riders have dropped the hammer. They're headed for the front, and just as you said, no one wants to be left out. It's Damon Bradshaw aboard that white Yamaha. He's rider number 8, Charlotte, North Carolina. He won the opening 2 rounds, injured his ankle, and he's been off the motorcycle for the better part of 2 weeks.
That's no way to train, obviously. You want to ride to train. His timing will suffer. I don't think physical condition is too big a problem. If the ankle's healthy, he'll be able to go first class because he's a 17-year-old kid. He's plenty strong. Look at Stanton making moves on the inside. Again, wants to get around O'Mara, wants to go after Bradshaw.
Johnny O'Mara holding the number 2 position. He's rider number 9 aboard that green Kawasaki. Right behind him comes our defending champion. There he is, Jeff Stanton out of Sherwood, Michigan. And right behind Stanton is number 13, 2-time Supercross champion, Rick Johnson. The battle right now, though, in the front 4 position, you can throw a blanket over them as they're throwing dirt on each other. Look at that.
And look at that, as inside of Johnny O'Mara goes number 1. That is your series champ, Jeff Stanton. Nice move. It's good to see Johnson up in the middle of this. He's been fighting that hurt wrist from a year ago. It's been almost exactly a year ago that he broke his arm. He's finally feeling healthy again, and he's up into the thick of this thing.
Shades of Atlanta 1 year ago. That was an extremely exciting race, as we saw in that replay just a couple of moments ago. We've got another one now. Where did Guy Cooper come from? All of a sudden, Cooper has put in an appearance. He's right up with the leaders. Cooper has come from nowhere.
Super Coop reeled him in. What happened, I think, Larry, is they got beaten on each other, and they left him some good lines, and he jumped in there. He's already passed Ricky Johnson, and he's working on Johnny O'Mara. They are shuffling 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th spot like hot potatoes. Matasevich is coming, so is Kedrowski.
Damon Bradshaw out in front is missing one heck of a race, but somehow I just don't think that he minds. He'd like to keep that back. And here comes O'Mara right back. Look at that. O'Mara stuffs Stanton and retakes the number 2 position. And that slowed Stanton just enough so that Cooper dove to the outside and double jumped over the top of both of them. Cooper is moving. O'Mara is moving. Stanton is moving. Johnson is moving. But they're all behind this 17-year-old youngster from Charlotte, North Carolina.
I think the key here is that Bradshaw is setting a very fast pace. He's making everybody else to hurry to keep up. The other thing, Larry, I think they like this racetrack a whole lot. There's plenty of racing room out there. Cooper got shuffled aside for a moment. Stanton came back underneath him. Now O'Mara will attack him. Johnson is up the inside. I can't keep up with the passes. Can you?
I've never seen riders 3 and 4 abreast going through whoop sections. They're swapping positions back and forth. It's impossible to keep up with. I have never seen this kind of race action.
Give number 11, Kedrowski, a call on the inside. Whoa, the champ's in trouble. Into the bales goes Jeff Stanton. He got her sideways in the whoops. By the time he got it sorted out, he dropped at least 4 or 5 spots. Bradshaw, again, setting a fast pace, putting the pressure on. First guy to crack was the champ.
And I can't believe, Dave, that we have not seen more riders crack other than Stanton. The pressure is intense. They're just beating each other up. We'll be back with more exciting action. The stadium is some of the most exciting Supercross action that we have ever seen. This is round 5. They have been beating on each other since the opening lap. Guy Cooper has now moved into contention. He's up to the number 2 position. The only rider in front of him, between him and the checkered flag. If ultimately he can't get there is Damon Bradshaw. And there's Rick Johnson, two-time Supercross champ. And Johnson is riding the best that we have seen him ride all year, Dave.
He's going after Cooper for sure, and they seem to be able to open up a little interval now back to the fourth-place man. It's Kedrowski who has broken out of that pack and moved into fourth, but for the first time tonight, whoa, wait a minute, Cooper's almost off the motorcycle. I was about to say that things had stabilized for a moment.
I don't think anything can stabilize this pack of riders. They're all hungry. They're all aggressive. They're all looking for the win. Bradshaw up front. There's Guy Cooper, number 4, running in the number 2 position. It's Johnson in third. And now here comes Kedrowski leading the rest of that pack in fourth. And they've started to close the gap again. I think what happens, Dave, is they have to be a little bit on the defensive side up front. Bradshaw is protecting his lead. Cooper's protecting second while he's trying to pass. And Johnson's doing the same thing. That slows him down just a little bit.
Cooper may be the guy with the highest motivation level of anybody here. Number 4 has never won one of these Supercross races, and that's a tremendous amount of drive. When you can get this close, when you can see it out there and know that all you got to do is keep your concentration, keep your lines, go fast, catch the kid, pass him, and you're a winner. He's tremendously motivated. He's pulling away a little bit from Johnson.
And look at this. Guy Cooper now is closing on Bradshaw as we talk. Here's another motivating factor. It's Guy Cooper's birthday. He told me earlier this evening, he said, I want everyone to sing happy birthday to me if I win. And I think that's what he's looking for. There goes Cooper. What a pass. I don't know where he found the room. I don't know where he got the drive. He blasted by Damon Bradshaw and has taken over the number 1 spot. Can Bradshaw come back?
Ty Bradshaw had some challenge here. He's had it pretty much his own way. Everybody else back there has had their hands full all night. Let's see what the kid does under pressure now, as Johnson will be moving up on him. I'm impressed with Johnson. He is not fading. He's not going soft. He has been as tough tonight as we've seen him ever since that injury a year ago.
Well, he's putting in the kind of a ride you would expect from a champion, and that's exactly what he is. There are other champions that are out in front of him. There's one right there. He's got to be my hero right now, coming from out of the pack to overhaul Bradshaw, taking over that number 1 spot, and he's doing it right on the ragged edge. I mean, this guy is all over the racetrack.
That may be his downfall, Larry. He's riding the thing awfully hard, and there's still a long way to go. You got to stay cool. Yes, you got to hurry. Yes, you got to go fast, but if you throw it away, it's all over with.
In order to get the number 1 points, you first have to finish. That's an old saying, and I guess it holds true in Supercross just as it does anywhere else. Cooper man. They call him Sky Cooper. They call him... Oh, Cooper stalls a bite. Cooper got down off that jump, and you're right, he kicked it out of gear. And that's costly for Guy Cooper, well back in the pack. He got it running again, but all of that ground that he had made up, he's all the way back to fourth. Bradshaw gets back out in that number 1 spot.
I'll tell you what, Cooper's okay here. If he can just put that out of his mind, not beat himself up over it, come right back and do his business, because you can see they're right there. He's not that far behind. He's no farther behind than he was 5 laps ago, and he went from there to lead. Bradshaw back on top, chuckling in his sleeve and saying, well, nobody can beat me.
Well, that's a good point, Dave. On the other hand, it could work against Cooper. He could be thinking, boy, I screwed that up. Am I going to do it again if I make another pass? But I don't think so. I think you're right. Look, they put the moves on. He's drawn up to the rear fender of Rick Johnson. Look at Mike Kedrowski. Kedrowski is another one of those riders that we said was back there hovering around, and all of a sudden he's in second. I don't understand. I don't know where they're coming from. Where are they getting the drive?
I got a glimpse of Jeff Ward there, number 3. First time we've seen him moving toward the front of that pack. He's around Matasevich back at the tail end of the whoops there. Key thing is that there are still 7 or 8 guys all within striking distance of the lead. I don't know how many times we should be allowed to say this is the best Supercross race we've ever seen. I'm going to take one more right here.
And we still have several laps to go. It's just intense racing. Bradshaw holds on to the number 1 spot. He's aboard that number 8 white Yamaha. Right behind him, his arch rival for the past couple of years. They split championships in the 125 class just 1 year ago. Bradshaw winning the Supercross title and Kedrowski taking the outdoor title. And they were both hard fought. A lot of banging, a lot of harsh words, and a lot of ill feelings. I don't know that any of that is carried over to the 250 class, but if they get up there and start banging on each other, we're apt to find out. Bradshaw the leader, Kedrowski running second. There's Guy Cooper running third. He passed Johnson. Cooper has moved up to the number 3 spot. Johnson back in fourth.
We get occasional glimpses, too, of the number 1 machine, and that is, of course, the series champ, Jeff Stanton. He's regrouped after his little off-track excursion and is trying to stalk his way back up. Oh, Kedrowski into Bradshaw. He came through there like a bowling ball and knocked Bradshaw in the bales, Larry.
Just like he was a pin. Now, look, Kedrowski is trailing about 1.5 miles of Coors Extra Gold Super Challenge banners. They caught in his wheel, and I can't imagine, you know, if Johnson, who was right behind him, runs over him, that could upset him. No, now look at them.
Kick him into the wheel.
Just him right up inside the wheel. Oh!
No brakes. I'll bet you a quarter, Larry. He got tangled up in the brake, and he ran in, didn't know it, and stuffed it in the bales.
Dave, we need to go back and take a look at that entire sequence again.
It starts with Kudrowski coming in too hot in a place you just can't pass. Figured he'd use Bradshaw for traction. Did. Bounced Damon off the hay bales. Kept on going. Paid for it, though, when the streamers tangled up apparently in the brakes. When he went in to make the turn, he couldn't slow down. He hit the bales, and he's out of there.
Back to the action. There's Rick Johnson. He's dropped back to the number 3 position. He's been passed by number 3. We caught just a glimpse of him, Jeff Ward. There's your leader, rider number 4, Guy Cooper. Cooper inheriting the lead when Kudrowski went down, and this is the second time in this race that Cooper has led, and it's not over yet, not by a long shot. We'll be back with more great racing action from Atlanta right after Camel Supercross Series. It's the Coors Extra Gold Super Challenge main event. Guy Cooper is your leader. He's number 4 aboard that yellow Suzuki. Right behind him, number 13, 2 times the Supercross champion, Rick Johnson. Johnson has moved into that number 2 position behind Johnson. A whole passel of riders, and any one of them could sneak through and grab that number 1 spot before this is over. There are 5 laps remaining, and the way it's been going, I would say we could very well end up with 5 leaders between now and that checkered flag.
Well, for the moment, Larry, it's a little more stable than it has been up until now, and it may be that Cooper and Johnson have decided they're going to quit messing with each other and just go on. You see the interval back to the 3rd place guy, Jeff Ward. It is, well, substantial by comparison to what we've seen up until now. It's certainly not very much, but Ward may not be able to catch these guys if they just put their heads down and go.
Well, now, Ward did it earlier. He came from further back than he is right now. He was well back in the pack, but you're right. At that time, Cooper and Johnson and Jeff Stanton was up there. They were riding a little on the defensive side. They were worried about each other. That gave Ward the opportunity. Guy Cooper, meanwhile, is still on the ragged edge. That guy can go so fast while looking out of control and holding onto the motorcycle. I don't know how he does it.
Johnson's trying to cross him up here. He's changed his lines a little bit because he wants to keep the pressure on Cooper. That's exactly what we were talking about. If Johnson's going to race Cooper for the lead, Ward's going to have a chance to run him down.
This is the thing that Rick Johnson was not doing early in the season, Dave. He was content to follow other riders, and in the process, he would be zapped. Now Johnson is looking like the old Rick Johnson in that he's looking for new lines. He's looking for new places to go on the racetrack. See there, he goes high, trying to cut down to the inside. He goes low and tries to work up. And now he's side by side with Cooper, but Cooper has just a little bit more, and he gets to the corner before Rick Johnson does.
The old Ricky Johnson never doubted that he could pass anybody on any racetrack anytime he wanted to.
There, Dave, he did it again. He found a new line on the inside, just as you were talking about it. A brand new line. Look, there, he's doing it again. That's Rick Johnson, vintage Rick Johnson, and Johnson has taken over the number 1 spot. Unbelievable competition here in Atlanta.
Ward's right on top of them. As they got racing side by side, it slowed one another down, and Ward is suddenly there. Cooper will start trying the desperation moves now, and indeed, Johnson now has that confidence he had a year ago. Cooper up the inside, going for it. They are really running out of the ragged edge.
Cooper totally sideways. He had the lead there just for a couple of seconds, and that would have been for the 3rd time tonight. Cooper totally sideways. I don't know how he pulled it back.
Watch Jeff Ward. He's after these guys with a vengeance. He's finding some great lines out there, and as Johnson pulls away just a little bit here from Cooper, I'm not sure, but what Jeff Ward may be the man to watch.
Well, Ward has had the opportunity to study the lines of Johnson and of Cooper. He knows where they're going to be on every inch of this racetrack, and that's a very good point. He could be the guy to watch just because of that. Right now, though, the man out front is the one that I'm watching, and I'm really happy to see him out there. It's good to see Rick Johnson, the Magic Man, the winningest rider in the history of Supercross, back.
So much of a sport like this is your psychological makeup. Yeah, you got to be healthy. Yeah, you got to be in great condition. But you got to think you can beat everybody else. And if you're hurt, you don't always think that. Johnson thinks that again, although Cooper thinks otherwise. Unbelievable. What a pass.
A great block pass. He just drove to the inside of Johnson. Johnson never had a prayer. He could have turned it up another 1,000 RPMs and wouldn't have caught him. Now side by side through these long doubles. And Johnson squirts to the inside. Gives Cooper a little bit of a bump. They both stay upright, and look where Jeff Ward is.
Look at him come down that set of whoops. He's got a little different angle, and he's under Johnson.
Block pass. A perfect block pass. He just drove to the inside of Johnson, and Johnson, I don't think he knew Ward was there.
He's run that line about the last 3 laps. He comes across those whoops at an angle. Traditionally, you run them straight. Ward's trying something different. It worked on Johnson. The crowd begins to go nuts. They're wondering if he can pull the same move on Cooper. I don't know. They're running out of time. Johnson is coming back at him. What a Supercross race.
Well, we have just slightly over 1 lap to go when they hit that white flag across the finish line jump. That'll be 1 lap remaining in this one. And the question is, can Cooper hold off one more charge? Jeff Ward has the adrenaline flowing. And at this point, I'm not going to count out Rick Johnson. He's back there working awfully hard on the motorcycle and on the track. There was the white flag. We're settled down now to less than a mile of racing room remaining in this Atlanta Fulton County State. There he goes. Same place. You're right, Dave.
Same line. He figured that out, Larry, as you said, while he was chasing those guys. He saw what they were doing. He figured out another way to do it. In 2 laps, he used it twice. He passed both guys. He's going to win the race.
Let me point something else out to you. I still do not believe that Guy Cooper knew who was coming behind him. I believe that he thought Johnson was back there, and Johnson had been reacting one way through that corner, and Jeff Ward reacted a different way, went to the inside, and blocked Cooper. He made the pass, took over the #1 spot. Extremely exciting racing. We want to say thank you to Super Sports Promotions for making this telecast possible, and of course to the American Motorcyclist Association. And the checkered flag at Jeff Ward with a triple pumper, and he was still pumping him as he went off the end of that jump. We'll be back with the results right after this. Exciting Supercross races in the history of the sport. There's your winner, Jeff Ward, out of San Juan Capistrano, a member of Team Kawasaki and a former Supercross champ. And I don't think, Dave, that Ward has come down yet. This is his second tour of the racetrack on a victory lap. Here's the way they finished behind Jeff Ward. Guy Cooper, who had led for a good part of that race at Porta Suzuki, was in the #2 position. Rick Johnson, his strongest ride of the year, was 3rd, followed by Vail, then Larry Ward in 4th.
Matasevich, the point leader, 6th. O'Mara and Fisher, Bradshaw and Kudrowski after their tangle, 9th and 10th. How about it, Jeff Ward? Did you think you could pass those guys?
Yeah, I thought so. I knew that, Ricky and Guy were diving in and out, and that was, they're slowing pace just a little bit, and I had some good lines, and I knew once I caught up to him, I could do the same thing that they were doing, and that's just what happened. And, Ricky just wasn't quite close enough to do it back to me there at the finish, but it was an exciting race. It was fun.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jeff Ward, it was fun to watch. Jeff Matasevich holds on to the point lead. He has 1 over Larry Ward. Jeff Stanton is running in a #3 position. Rick Johnson 4th. And rounding out the top 5, he got there with that win tonight, Jeff Ward.
Congratulations to Jeff on his 18th career Supercross bottle of champagne. And by the way, happy birthday to Guy Cooper on the left.
Dave, I don't think I've ever seen a better main event.
At your age, Larry, you've seen most of them. This series has been around almost 20 years, and I'm not sure there's ever been a better Supercross feature in terms of the number of lead changes, the number of riders who had a shot at winning it, and maybe it's appropriate that Jeff Ward, who's been in so many great races over the years, used that experience to pull it off. I can't wait to see the next one.
It'll be interesting to find out if in the next one the veterans stay on top of the victory rostrum or if the rookies will rebound. That next one for you right here on ESPN will be in Las Vegas, Nevada, as the Camel Supercross Series continues. For Dave Despain, I'm Larry Myers. So long until next week.